Hello again. At some point I need to record these in the daytime because I feel like whenever I record these at night. So I need to end up using the nightlight, which means that it looks a bit it looks a bit weird, but not to worry. I have now elevated the height of the camera so that we're not having a view that is quite literally of my legs. So that's an improvement. What do I want to talk about? So I released my single Lacuna recently. I think it was last week, or it might have been the week before. Can't quite remember now. But I released it. Actually, it must have been the week before. So yeah, released it about the week before. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not a big fan of the song. It does a good job of making me uncomfortable, which I guess that's sort of what I try and do. I try and capture the emotion that I'm feeling with it. So in that sense, I did a good job, but I don't enjoy the song too much. I tried 3 different attempts of making the song before I ended up with the one that I had. And yeah, so if you want to look at it, it's Lacuna by Abel Little. It's on Spotify. I kind of want to go through the process of me making that song. I don't want to go into too much detail, but just the general overview of how I structured making the song and what I intend to do going forward. Sorry, I keep hearing noises around. I'm not sure what that is. So what I did first was I kind of already had an idea of what the song was going to be before making it. So I generally have thoughts and emotions in mind of what kind of song that I want to create. And in this case, I worked on the guitar bit first. So I was just messing around with the guitar for about, I don't know how long, but I was messing around with the guitar for a certain amount of time, at least half an hour, I would say. And I ended up with a kind of a nice verse bit that I was happy with. And then I ended up humming the melody to that part, and eventually I overlaid that humming with singing, with actual lyrics that I was happy with. I did a similar thing for the chorus, and the song sort of grew over time. And I don't know how to describe this process if you've never made songs before, but essentially there's a point when you have a song and you play it a few times, and at some point you just decide, I'm going to add this extra bit, and you kind of play around a little bit, and it's like, that sounds quite cool. And eventually I just felt that the song needed that extra emotional beat at the end. So there's kind of a solo-y bit. It's not really a solo, but it's just an instrumental bit at the end where I'm playing the guitar by strumming instead of finger picking. So I felt like the finger picking at the start, and then it goes into the stronger instrumental after the fact. And I felt like that made sense. And then I complemented it with some coughing and like some more aggressive drum beats to kind of add to that kind of emotional part. So that's basically how I made it, and I didn't want to go too in depth into how I made it right now because I wouldn't mind having a more structured explaining how I did it in the future. Going forward, I'm working on a new album, and when I say album, I want to try and make 8 to 10 songs within one album. The most I've made so far in a album, which is technically an EP, but I've made 6 songs in one that kind of encompass a theme. It's kind of the issue that with that EP, although it all encompasses something for me, it's not encompassing for other people. These songs, the songs that I made on Shelf, it's called, had a kind of separate meaning for each one. So what I want to do is try and make an album that has one vision and one theme, and ultimately tells a story. And I'm willing to give more of those details about what that story is in the coming weeks in the future. But as of right now, I'm just going to say it's going to be called Plugged In, and largely the themes are going to be inspired by probably the new Lady Gaga album, like sound-wise, maybe mixing in a bit of that kind of Marilyn Manson guitar mixed with dark pop sound, but also a couple of other things as well that I've already been inspired by in the past, like Sons of Kemet and Nirvana and people like that. Trying to think of what else I want to mention on that. And it's going to have a kind of, at least story-wise, it's going to be related to kind of like a Matrix-y, Blade Runner-y kind of style album. So I kind of want to make something that is, it's probably not going to sound exactly like those, I just mean in the sense of story. I kind of want to make something that's a bit, something that relates to the world that I feel like we're living more and more in today with the rise of AI and technology and all of that kind of stuff. So that's the general idea. I feel like I make these videos and I don't exactly know where I want to point the video, and I feel like I need to start making them more often so that I can tell you guys more about the things that I'm doing, but also try and make my ideas more coherent. I'm working on writing as well, so I'm focusing on trying to make something written that is, so that I can make a video that's a bit more direct to you guys. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, something that's written that's a bit more useful for other people, not just for myself. I want to try and take this kind of format that I'm doing right now, where I'm kind of blabbering on and talking without having, but I kind of want to trim the fat. That's sort of what I want to aim at. But trying to make that work is, of course, a very difficult task. There's a reason that people get paid quite a lot to do it. So as of right now, I tried something with my writing, and I did quite good at the start. I would say I did good in the first third of the writing. So I made a coherent story, but then when it came to the main idea, so the story was basically to do with social media addiction, getting stuck in that social media addiction and kind of putting off work. And the idea was, I thought it was original, but I wrote, this is the issue that I had, okay, and I'm going to admit this. So I like to use AI as an assistant tool to help me kind of communicate with someone, quote unquote, in order to communicate my ideas effectively. So I generally end up doing like an hour block of writing. I do a big block of writing, and then I stuck it into ChatGPT and went, this is the thoughts that I have and the general idea that I have. What am I trying to say? Because I wasn't intelligent enough to know what exactly I wanted to put forward. I just blabbered on and just stuck it into ChatGPT and saw what they said. And after a back and forth of like half an hour, back and forth with the AI, literally back and forth, there was an idea that it said, what was it? It was create first and consume second. And I remember telling the AI, like, did I basically say that? I kind of like that idea, so I sort of want to use it. And it's like, yeah, this is basically the summary of what you're saying. So I was like, okay, create first and consume second. That's a good idea for like a title. And I wrote my first bit, which was the story, and then I started writing the second bit, but I was struggling a little. And as I was doing a bit of research, I found out that there's a book called Create First, Consume Second. Now, I haven't read the book, but I'm interested in reading it because that was the idea that I was basically putting forward. And I feel like what really ended up happening was I tried using AI to help me write more coherently what my ideas were. And although it did a good job of helping me make my ideas coherent, it also essentially, like almost borderline, it didn't make me plagiarize because of course I haven't published anything of it, but it basically directed me to an idea that someone else created. And especially that title of create first, consume second. It sounded so good that I was like, okay, that's great. I'm going to stick that in my work. If I released that, it would have probably been borderline plagiarism, even though it was completely accidental. It was just, that was the idea. It's funny, afterwards the AI was saying, although create first, consume second is a good concept, even though it already exists, all ideas already exist, it's okay to use it. But I don't think it is. I think if an AI is basically telling me, even though I was probably talking about the same concept as the create first, consume second writer did, even though I was probably talking about the same concept, and maybe I would have approached it in a unique way, maybe I would have approached it in a more interesting way, or a more consumer friendly way, because his was a whole book on that concept. I got hiccups. I was just going to make a chapter. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I just create a little bit or not. The fact is, that was his title, that was his idea. And that's what I'm struggling with right now. I'm really good at blabbering on like I am doing now about lots of different ideas. And I can write for an entire hour random crap. I can write about 1,000 to 2,000 words of random crap, but how much of that crap is going to be useful? I don't know, because I don't know how to take my ideas and trim the fat. And I think that's what I'm trying to work out at the moment. How can I make all these concepts and be able to trim the fat so that I create something original? And when I say original, I just mean something from my mind. I don't mean I'm going to discover a whole new concept that is never been seen before. I just mean it can't be... the lesson I've learned is that AI is really useful for giving me the answer to maybe something, but it's going to borrow from other people, and as a result, it's going to make my skills weaker because I'm not trimming my own fat. I'm letting the AI do it for me, and then the AI is going to shoehorn in other people's ideas, which I'm going to think is my own or original when it's not. So that's the trouble that I'm having with right now. I'm trying to understand, how can I trim the fat? How can I slim down my ideas? Maybe still finding a way for the AI to help me, but just using it in a way that ensures that I don't end up with someone else's concepts, basically. I know it sounds stupid, but yeah, that's what I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing correctly. So that's basically all I've got for now. I'm gonna end the convo here, and yeah, let's hope for a beautiful future. So speak soon.